any surplus that we earn goes back into our institution for the good of our students. That's what happens to our surplus.
Okay, so that's interesting that you raised that, because I noted that you're number 202 on the Ontario Sunshine List. You make over $450,000 a year. You're telling me that you never talk to the federal government about adequate housing for students in your area. You never talk to them about potential asylum claims, which there's a big cost to taxpayers, and you never talk to them about youth unemployment rates. Do you think that you deserve your salary?
You said that earlier in your testimony that you're busting your butt to help Canadians or to attract Canadians to Seneca. But we noticed that you're investing in 2 campuses in Cairo, Egypt. You're an Ontario college meant to be educating Ontarians. Why are you focusing on educating Egyptians?
You made reference to the fact that that revenue does come back to Canada to fund programs in Canada, which is 53% taken in by international students.
This guy's garage. Like and subscribe.
From Seneca Polytechnic, we have David Agnew, President. From U15 Canada, we have Robert Asselin, Chief Executive Officer. From l'Université du Québec à Trois-Rivières, we have Christian Blanchette, Présidente.
Thank you, Chair. I'll direct my questions to Mr. Agnew. Mr. Agnew, from 2021 to 2024, you guys took in over 50,000 international students. That's a lot. You opened a campus a few years ago, and then you had to shutter a campus, and you attributed that to the loss of international student permits. Did the federal government give you the impression that the levels of permits that you were receiving would go on indefinitely?
No, I don't think they gave us the impression it would go on indefinitely. What we were responding to when we dedicated one of our campuses to international students was, frankly, the demand. The very high demand, as you note, for international education.
Just sorry, I don't have a lot of time. I'm sure there's demand, but there's a permitting process from the federal government, and you must have known that you were dependent on that. So why did you persist? You must have assumed that it was, or been under the assumption that these numbers would carry on forever, right?
Nothing lasts forever.
Okay. It just seems like
it was a campus that was available to us, and so because the demand, we decided to use that, put our capital to good use.
Thank you. It just seems like a pretty poor business choice to me. Did the federal government ever ask you to demonstrate that there was adequate housing for the numbers of students that you brought in the region? Just yes or no?
No.
Okay. Did the federal government ever ask you to demonstrate that there were adequate numbers of jobs in the region for those 50,000 people? Just a yes or a no?
No.
Okay. Did you ever raise any alarm bells with the federal government that, there might be kids sleeping under a bridge or food bank usage? Did you ever have that conversation with the federal government on the student permitting numbers you were having?
Well, as far as I know, we did not have any students sleeping under bridges, so that wasn't. And I mean, as far as I know,
as far as you know,
we have a housing office that works very closely with our students. Most of our students stay off campus, not on campus.
So you talked about the asylum claim rates and the fact that you didn't know about this. I'm assuming you didn't talk to the federal government about this. They weren't talking to you. Just to reemphasize, that was the case.
Well, prior to it appearing in the media, that's exactly right.
Okay.
But once it appeared in the media, we started talking.
There's a lot of financial liability associated with international students who are making false asylum claims or overstaying their visas. Do you think institutions like yours should bear some responsibility or financial liability for when that happens?
I would just remind you that we don't actually approve the permits. We assess our incoming students on the basis of their academic records.
Profit off
and
them,
their
right?
Transcripts.
You sure profit off them, though, right?
No, I don't use the word profit because we're a public institution.
So I would. I see that
any surplus that we earn goes back into our institution for the good of our students. That's what happens to our surplus.
Okay, so that's interesting that you raised that, because I noted that you're number 202 on the Ontario Sunshine List. You make over $450,000 a year. You're telling me that you never talk to the federal government about adequate housing for students in your area. You never talk to them about potential asylum claims, which there's a big cost to taxpayers, and you never talk to them about youth unemployment rates. Do you think that you deserve your salary?
We did talk about the asylum claims with IRCC once we were made aware of the problem through the media that we had a problem. And as I said in my remarks, I wanted to sit down very much with the federal government to understand why this is happening. I've got some good news and bad news. The good news is that rate of asylum claims has plummeted in this year. The bad news is I have no idea why it went down, just like I had no idea why it went up.
Maybe it's because, I don't know, maybe somebody on your board would have told you if you brought less people in, they might make less asylum claims. Do you think that might be an obvious factor?
That is, the numbers don't track just like you would say, actually. That's not exactly the way the numbers track.
But how would you know?
Well, because now, historically, the numbers are out.
Oh, okay.
But,
I'm going to go on another topic here. Earlier in testimony, one of my Liberal colleagues said that he was concerned about, quote, corrosive rhetoric and foreign students being scapegoated for things like the youth jobs crisis and high rental costs. I agree. I don't think that foreign students should bear the brunt of that. Who deserves the blame, you or the federal government?
When I look around my campus and I reflect back on the years I've spent at Seneca, international students have been disproportionately leaders of our student government. They've been representatives on our board of governors. They've contributed immensely. So no, I agree with you. I don't think we should be scapegoating international students either. But as I said before,
I need to have the MEG back now. Do you think you bear any responsibility? You brought in 50,000 students. There were asylum claims, food bank overusage, high rental rates. Do you bear any responsibility for that decision?
I'm a single institution. Our growth in the international students was, I believe, responsible and responsive to the times. As I say, any of the surpluses that we generated during that time were invested back in.
I'll close with this. Every person on this panel today has said that they need more global talent to make Canada competitive. What about Canadian kids? What are you doing to make Canadian kids better? I've not heard a single academic institutions today talk about how they are skilling kids in a youth jobs crisis. What are you doing about that?
We are busting our butt to recruit Canadian kids. We've got great programs. We are trying as much as possible to direct them towards the STEM programs that the government says we need and that I agree that we do need. So we're doing a lot to try to upskill and reskill our Canadian kids and our Canadian workforce.
Do better.
Not just the kids. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Agnew. Thank you, Ms. Rempel-Gardner.
You agree that federal concerns about Ontario's unchecked enrollment growth were legitimate, given that provinces like Quebec and British Columbia have taken stronger measures to regulate the designated learning institutions?
Again, I don't want to comment on one specific province. I want to speak on behalf of my institutions. I think we have an excellent record of bringing the best and the brightest. We're very proud of the excellence pathway we provide to students. The programs that international students compete to come in our institutions are of the highest standard. And I'll let others make judgment about the Ontario situation as a whole.
Within your institutions across Canada, you have made no comparisons about the growth of the enrollment in different provinces?
I mean, overall, we're one of the most sought institutions in Canada. People want to come in our programs, both at the graduate and undergrad level. And in some instances, it's very, very competitive to come and be accepted in places such as McGill, UBC, University of Toronto. And it's not a quantitative argument. For us, it's a qualitative one. And we're very proud of that, and we will maintain it.
I just want to confirm what you said earlier, at least my understanding of it. Did the federal government ever ask you to take into consideration the availability of student housing around Seneca College campuses in the greater Toronto area where you primarily have campuses?
No, I mean, I'd
They
be
did
very
not.
direct with you. Did
Okay.
the federal government ever come to me and say,
No.
do you have housing around? No, the federal government did not come to me.
Right. Did they ever ask you to take into consideration labor market impacts, particularly amongst our youth? Yes or no?
I mean, can I just step back a second? I mean, we're provincial. We're provincial organizations, right? We are actually, colleges in Ontario are actually crown agencies. So I think the main.
I understand, Mr. Agnew. I just wanted to know if the federal government ever asked you to take that into consideration. Did they ever ask you to take into consideration the impact to our healthcare system with respect to the number of international students that Seneca is accepting? Just a yes or no, please.
Well, we run our own healthcare service for our international
No, did the
students,
federal government ever ask?
Mr. Menegakis, please allow the witness to answer.
Fine.
Mr. Agnew, please.
Yeah, no, the federal government, the same answer. The federal government tends to deal with the provincial
not.
government as opposed directly with institutions, I would think would be the answer.
Okay. I noticed that Seneca College Student Federation is a food bank. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Do you have the number of food bank users at Seneca College Student Federation by year over the last 5 years, Mr. Agnew?
I would have to ask the Federation. I certainly will and will provide you with that information.
Thank you. If you could undertake to do that, would be greatly appreciated. Your website also notes that students must register to pick up food. Would it be possible to provide us with a number of international student visits to the food bank by year over the last 5 years?
Honestly, I don't know whether the registration system would actually ask students to identify themselves by their residence, country of origin, but I can certainly ask the SSF for that information.
You said that earlier in your testimony that you're busting your butt to help Canadians or to attract Canadians to Seneca. But we noticed that you're investing in 2 campuses in Cairo, Egypt. You're an Ontario college meant to be educating Ontarians. Why are you focusing on educating Egyptians?
We're not investing in those campuses. They're being built for us by somebody else. No capital, not 1 cent of our capital is going into those campuses. We're operating them. Why? Because, as I think is apparent to everybody in Canada, we need revenue, and this is a way of raising additional revenue, which we can then bring home to invest in our campuses for the benefit of our students in Canada. That's what we do.
Well, according to your annual report, 53% of your student body was international students. Don't you think those spots should be going to Canadian students?
We do not turn away domestic students. We try to recruit all the time in our programs. Please understand, it's a very competitive market. We're in the GTA. We've got 8 different post-secondary institutions. We've got a big recruitment team. We do a lot of marketing, which you've probably seen around the city. We are trying our very best to recruit as many domestic students as we possibly can.
Mr. Agnew, as a primary educational institution in the Greater Toronto Area, surely you must take into consideration, or should be taking into consideration, what's happening when these international students come into the city. Are you aware that some of them are living under bridges? Are you aware that they're going to food banks? Are you aware that the youth unemployment in the Greater Toronto Area is hovering around 20% at this time? Do you not feel a responsibility for that, or at least to take those issues up with IRCC when discussing things with them?
Well, these are all very serious issues, and we do our best to do what we can for the students that we have under our responsibility. We are, an institution in, a big city, so we can't solve the housing problems. What we can do, which we were doing, as unfortunately, then January 24 came along. We were planning to build a new residence to attract more students into that residence, but of course, because our student numbers are dropping now, that doesn't make economic sense. But you have to understand, and this is a pretty strong narrative across the post-secondary system. The revenue that we were raising from international students was helping our domestic students. It was cross-subsidizing programs. It was helping keep some of those programs alive. So when people talk to you about the hundreds of programs that are closing, it's because
53% of your revenue, Mr. Agnew.
Please let him finish, Mr. Menegakis.
Point out, Madame la Présidente.
Yes, point of order.
Point of order. The sound quality apparently is not good enough.
Mr. Agnew, do you want to finish your sentence, and then I'll allow you to finish your sentence as well, Mr. Menegakis. Mr. Agnew, you were finishing your sentence, please.
I was just saying that, among the many hundreds of programs that have closed in the last year, some of them are closing because they've lost the cross-subsidization or even the bodies that they needed to the enrollment that they needed to sustain them. And so that's part of the role that international students have played, is helping domestic students.
Thank you. And Mr. Menegakis, do you have just final 10 seconds?
Mr. Agnew, 53% of your revenue is coming from students that are not Canadians, from international students, according to your annual report. One can easily question whether the motive, your intent, is really to subsidize or assist the remaining 47%, which are Canadians. You are a Canadian educational institution.
Why would you question that?
Thank you so much, Mr. Menegakis, and thank you, Mr. Agnew.
Do you believe that there were any early warning signs that the provincial government should have either responded to or engaged with regarding housing availability, student well-being, and or institutional capacity?
Well, as I say, I'm not sure I understand about institutional capacity, because anyway, I don't quite understand what you mean by that. Look, I'm not in government. I don't have the policy levers. I don't have the analytics. I don't have the statistics and the data to understand how early those things could be felt. I know people were talking about a housing price increase that was out of control in Toronto, for instance, and some other cities. But I think if you look at the data, that actually mostly predated the big uptick in international student populations.
Give 2 minutes to Mr. Davies and 2 minutes to Mr. Zuberi. Mr. Davies.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll be very brief, but I want to follow up on what my colleague pointed to today to sort of wrap this up with a little bow. Mr. Agnew, you have built a college campus in Cairo. You made reference to the need to bring revenue back to Canada. I mean, that concerns me, particularly with 53% of your student population is international students. So to me, this looks like a bit of a cash cow. You have taken an educational model and turned it into an entrepreneurial model, which I'm interested to know. Do you have a remuneration package that has performance bonuses based on revenue?
No, I don't. And, one of the things that I've noticed as I've traveled around the world is that many countries actually encourage their institutions to export their excellent and quality education. So if you see many
I'm sorry, I don't have much time here. I'm sorry, I don't have much time here, sir. But
and just to clarify, we're not building the campus. I've already made that point, but we're not putting 1 cent of capital into that campus.
You made reference to the fact that revenue does come back to Canada to fund programs in Canada, which is 53% taken in by international students. So to me, you've taken a model of a free-flowing, open-ended access to foreign students, and you've built campuses around that flawed business model, and the consequences are now coming home to the reality that tap is turned off. So, do you know whether there are any other campuses that have that high a level of international students as your institution?
Quick response, please.
Yeah, I'm not going to respond on behalf of other institutions, but I'd be happy to sit down with you, Mr. Davies, and I'm responsible for my institution, not everybody else's. So I'd be happy to sit down with you and explain our business model and our strategic plan. So it's not a cash grab. It's trying to make sure that our domestic students have great programs and great careers. That's what we're all about.
Thank you so much, Mr. Davies. Thank you, Mr. Agnew. 2 minutes, Mr. Zuberi.
Thank you. And I'd like to stick with Mr. Agnew. Given that we've been talking a lot about domestic students, if you just want to share with us what have you done, your institution has done to source domestic students and to promote domestic recruitment?
We have a we have many people on our domestic recruitment team. We have a large marketing budget. We work very closely with all the regional high schools that would feed into our campuses. We go to adult learning centers. We do everything we possibly can. We love the school college work program because it brings high school students onto our campuses so they can earn a high school credit and a college credit at the same time. So we work very hard because, as I said before, it's a very competitive market, Toronto. We've got lots of institutions and lots of great institutions. So we're doing our very best to make sure that we continue to recruit great domestic students.
Just want to ask an open question to all the witnesses. In terms of lessons that we can draw from international student programs in other countries, do you have suggestions on best practices that we can adopt from other countries when it comes to international student programs and recruitment?
I think it was Mr. Asylum who talked about the competition out there in international education land. What's interesting is it's no longer just the UK and Australia. There are countries throughout the world that are positioning themselves as international education hubs. I'm worried that Canada is going in the different direction. And yes, as much as we need, graduate level talent, we also need undergraduate level talent as well. So I think really we got to get back in that world. And as others have said, we have to start the long journey of rebuilding our Canada brand.
Thank you, Mr. Agnew. Thank you, Mr. Zuberi. So that concludes our second round of testimony today.